I wanted to come in here and kind of just have a conversation about what you need now, why it matters, and how how you can change it in 21 days, okay? So we're gonna be talking about that a little bit, and I have some things to share with you. But first, I kind of want to just address the elephant in the room, right? Here's the thing, we're all going through a global crisis, okay? And we're all worried, we're all having to adjust. I know my kids, even though they understand it, they ask, why can't they spend time with friends? And I'm asking the same question, why can't I? But here's the thing, we're all in this global crisis, and I wanna make sure that you know that I know that is why I'm showing up today, because we are all struggling, and I want to make sure that I'm of service to you. Here's the thing about being in a crisis, and that is that when we are in a state of crisis, what was already there gets magnified. So if you were struggling with anxiety, I'm sure you're a lot more anxious. If you were struggling with overeating, you're eating a lot more. If you were struggling with procrastination, if you were struggling with anger, like whatever it was that you were struggling with, in a state of crisis, it magnifies, okay? So I want you to know that I know that, and I want to be here to help you, which is why I am coming to you today, okay? I normally do not come in the evening, and I have to say that if somebody walks in and talks to me, please, I have coached them not to interrupt mom, she's working, but just know it might happen, I don't know. Okay, so here's the thing, when things get triggered more, right, that is just part of us being in crisis. That is normal. There's really no need for you to feel bad about that, or shameful or guilty, like, it's just part of it. It really is part of it. And so this is why it's even more important what I want to talk about. Yes, I'm good. And make sure to comment if you have, questions or comments about what I'm saying. I want to make sure that it relates to you. Yes, during this time, if you were struggling before, being in a state of crisis, even just family crisis, brings it up. If you are having like a global, that's like a 1,000 more, okay? So know that that's normal and there's nothing wrong with you, okay? It's just part of human nature, okay? So I took some notes because I want to make sure that I'm giving you guys information that is valuable. Here's the thing, my experience, okay, my background is in crisis. I don't know if a lot of you know that, but I used to be working crisis intervention. I used to volunteer at a rape crisis team. I used to volunteer, you heard that right? I used to just volunteer to be at the front lines when somebody was raped. I used to work at a domestic violence shelter. I used to work with trauma survivors. So I'm sharing this with you because I want you to know that I am made for this. I am here to serve you from a place of like, this is where I know what to do in times of stress and crisis. Not only do I have experience in that, but obviously my own personal story of trauma. I feel like this is why I'm showing up for you more, and maybe you guys have noticed that, but I just really want to be a servant during this time. And if you find yourself a hot mess, like someone said earlier, know that I am here for you, okay? So here's like this. What I want to share with you today is 3 principles of what's going to help you during this time, okay? The first principle, and this is something that I teach all of my clients that I work with, the first principle is self-care is a need, needs to shift to self-care is a priority. Now, before I go on, I want to just take a little stock of who's watching here. From a scale from 1 to 10, okay? 10 being you're a rock star with your self-care, 0 or 1 being you're a hot mess. give me a number. Where are you right now? What is your number right now? Come on in, everyone. We're talking about some things today. So scale from 1 to 10. 10, you're a rock star with self-care. 1, you're a hot mess. Okay, so I see here a 4. Great, thanks for sharing. Anyone else want to put their number? I know it's, I'm asking you to be vulnerable, but you know, so we have a 4. I was talking to a couple of clients this week. Somebody was a 3, somebody was a 6. So here's the thing. One of the things that I know for sure is that people really struggle to prioritize their personal wellness with self-care. Okay. I know I really struggled 10 years ago. Okay, numbers are coming in 3.5, yes. So here's the thing. I know what that is when you're a hot mess, okay? Because I was there 10 years ago where I was completely neglecting myself, putting everybody else first, and I was in pain, I was overweight, I was depressed, and I was pretending that everything was okay. I really was in a state of pretend. And really what happened is that I completely neglected myself, and really, you know, things could have been worse, but I definitely got help and started to really use self-care to get me into a place of healing. And so what I want to share with you today is that when you shift from I self-care only when I need it, right? By the time we get to the crisis, which this is where we're at right now, a crisis, we don't know what to do. We are too overwhelmed. We are too anxious. We're too depressed. We're a hot mess. And what happens is if we don't have those things in place, right, then we're not going to be able to handle the crisis when it comes. So the way I see self-care, and I talk to a lot of my clients, I tell them we are training for the race. And what I mean by that, it's like, I don't know if you guys are marathon runners or have trained for something, but you don't show up on race day with not having run before or trained. And this is what's happening right now is a lot of us have ignored our self-care, and we're here in a global crisis, and all of us are falling apart. A lot of people are falling apart. They don't know what to do because they did not prioritize their self-care, and they're having to learn to self-care in a state of crisis, which only makes it harder. Not impossible. That's why I'm here. I want to give you guys the tools so that you can rise above right now in this time of crisis. Okay. So the first principle that I want you to leave here today is that we're going to shift from only self-caring in a time of need to self-caring as a priority. We're going to move it all the way up to the top of the list. Okay. And this is something that I help my clients do, because obviously going to principle number 2, principle number 2 is self-care is selfish, has to move to self-care is giving, okay? And here's the problem. This is why we can't move self-care to the top of the list, because we view it at a deeper level that it is selfish. That taking care of ourselves right now, like look at my kids, look at my grandparents, look at my mom, like we're taking care of all of the people in our lives, right? And the less intuitive thing to do right now is to take care of yourself. I know, I've been there. So give me a thumbs up if that makes sense. If that is something that you struggle with, maybe putting yourself first feels too big. Maybe you feel guilty about that, or maybe you don't even know how to do that. So just give me a heart or a thumbs up, making sure that this is making sense to you guys. I hate the delay, guys. I really do. Okay, so talking about that second principle, right? The fact that, oh, they always come. I need to learn to wait a little bit longer for those responses. Thank you guys for those responses. Okay, so here's the thing. When we start to shift, right, to really looking at self-care as giving, right, then we don't feel guilty about it. Okay, so here's an example. So I wanted to wake up earlier. A couple of years ago, I was really working on like establishing a routine of self-care, and I wanted to wake up earlier, like around 5, but to be honest, it was really hard for me to get that routine. And I just kept ignoring that desire in me because quite frankly, I was tired, right? And I was like, oh my gosh, that's still early. I wish I could, but I can't. And I made all these excuses for it. Then my son started high school football, and they have to be at practice at 5:15. And so he came to me and he said, I need to go to practice at 5:15. And I told him like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to wake up at 5 o'clock and take you. So we order an Amazon alarm. It was like one of those loud alarms because I was like, I'm going to need all the help I can get because I've tried to wake up early and I can't. The first day that he had to be in practice, the alarm went off. I woke up with no problem. No problem. Here I was driving him to practice at 5:05, okay? And as I was driving home, I looked at the clock and I think it was around, 5:15, 5:20 or something. And I thought to myself, isn't that funny how for months I struggled to wake myself up because I wanted something, because it was going to be beneficial for me. And I didn't do it. It wasn't enough to push me into behavior, right? But my son needs something. I'm quick. I jumped out of bed. I took do you guys know that we are more likely to do things for our loved ones 100% of the time, quicker, faster, because we love them and we know they're worthy. But when we're just looking at our wellness, our personal physical health, emotional health, we don't do it. I have plenty of clients that have had their kids in counseling for a long time and they've had issues, but they've never sought help. So they weren't against counseling, but they did it for their kids, but they didn't do it for themselves. So again, that is something because we perceive that taking care of ourselves is selfish, but we need to move away from that. And that is what I help my clients do is really, I have so much experience. Yes, it's common. It is really common to put other people ahead of you. Especially if you have years of doing that, you're more likely to just fall into that again. So one of the things is we got to shift from self-care is selfish to self-care is giving. When you really make that mental flip, then you're really able to take care of yourself and not necessarily feel guilty, okay? Yes, get them to and then cancel my appointment. Yes, Estella, that is so common. I have a lot of women that will do so many things for other people, right? They come up with money for extracurricular activities, but they can't pay for a counselor. Or they come up with time to go do something for someone, but they can't find the time to take that nap that they need. Like, it's just so common, and it's something that we all struggle with. And making that flip and that really telling yourself like self-care is giving, because you're going to be a better mom, a better sister, a better friend, a better daughter when you have your cup full. Trust me, when you're coming in with an empty cup, you are grouchy, you're irritable, you snap, you know what I mean? You're resentful. When you're coming from a place of fullness, you are there to give, and you give just with no hesitation. You want to give. It feels good to give. So there's a big difference on how that behavior feels to you when you make that cognitive shift, okay, on that principle. Give me a thumbs up. I want to make sure this is that you are relating to this. A little heart or a thumbs up, because I like validation. Okay, so the third principle that I want to share with you today is that we need to move. Okay, well, first let me stop there. Actually, let me take a deep breath. Do you have any questions on those two principles? I want to just kind of take a moment to review because I know we had some people come in a little later. So I wanted to make sure the first principle that I want you to really take away from this is that we need to move from self-care is a need to self-care is a priority. Okay, that's the first principle. The second principle that I just shared is we need to really move from self-care is selfish to self-care is giving. Okay. So the third principle that I really want to talk about today, and the thumbs up are coming up, yay, is we need to move from it doesn't matter to it does matter. It matters what you do for yourself, okay? So many times, oh my gosh, ladies, we ignore our needs. I know I ignored my needs when I was in my worst health 10 years ago. I had red flags. I did. I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. My body hurt. I was gaining weight. My clothes didn't fit. I was irritable. I was spending my whole evenings like on the couch, just looking through stuff. Like I was not fulfilled. Okay. I was not fulfilled, but I ignored them. Okay. Because part of me was waiting. Part of me was waiting for the right time to come. Raise your hand if you have said to yourself, I'll do it later. I'll work out later. I'll go to the dentist later. I will go to counseling later. I will, like we're always waiting. And I always tell my clients, change and transformation does not happen in the waiting room. It doesn't. It happens when you step out of it, okay? So here's the thing. I know right now a lot of people are thinking, when June comes, when July comes, when we're out of this quarantine, I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z. And we're using this time to think, to freak out, to worry, to stress, to watch more news. And we're not really taking this time, this moment in our lives to do something better. Instead, a lot of us are waiting and we've just decided to stop what we were doing. Maybe we were working on a project, we've stopped it. Maybe we were working on our health and now we're just going to the refrigerator every chance we get. Maybe we were working out and now we just are like too scared to, we're not finding the way out. Instead, we are crumbling. We're crumbling and we're waiting till this is over to start living again. And I want to tell you that having gone through a lot of crisis and working with people in trauma, the best thing you could do is put that oxygen mask first on yourself, because whatever you do right now matters. It does matter, okay? So the third principle that I teach my clients is that it's not about waiting till the right time, till you have more money, till you feel better. No, starts right now. One step, that's it. Pick one thing you can do next, okay? That is going to that's going to get you closer to feeling better, to soothing yourself, for your personal wellness, because you matter. You're just as important. I have so many people talking about like, what can I do for my kids so they can feel better? What can I do for my elderly parents? What can I do for work, my employees, and no one is asking, what can I do for me? It's like we feel like there's so much shame, right? But I'm here to tell you that you matter. And what you're doing right now for you is important. Don't just throw in the towel and say, well, I guess, wake me up when this is over. We don't know when this is going to be over. It might be 30 days. It might be 90. We don't know, guys. And so that is why I am coming here, because I want to encourage you, use this time. Take advantage of this time. I know I'm taking advantage of this time. I'm really focusing on my physical health during this time, because you know what? I don't have anywhere to go. So I am going to go 100% in my physical health during this time. So why am I here today? So here's the thing. Before I wrap up, here's what I want to ask you now. Okay. If you were a 10 on that scale, so at the beginning of this live, I know some of you have come in late. I asked people from a scale from 1 to 10, okay? 10 being you are a rock star with taking care of yourself, and 1 being you're a hot mess. Thank you, Lilia, for that word. 1 being you're a hot mess, okay? Where are you on the scale? Some people said 3, some people said 4. So 1, you're a hot mess. 10, you're a rock star and taking care of yourself. So have that number. If you're late, you can kind of put your number now. And I want you to really take a moment, okay, to ask yourself, what would I feel like if I was a 10? How would it feel like if I was a 10, I was a rock star and taking care of myself? I want you to take a moment and visualize that. How would you feel? What would you do different? What would be more in your life? Would you have more peace, more fun, more adventure? Would you have more confidence, more patience? Like, what does that 10 look like? If a word comes up for you, I want you to share it with me. And I'm going to drink water while you write down those words. What would a 10 feel like for you if you were a 10 in the scale of taking care of yourself? Any words come up? For me, one of the things that I've always, whenever I ask myself that, what would it be to feel like a 10, a rock star in taking care of myself? For me, the word is freedom. I would just be so free in myself, right? Because a lot of times I feel that when I'm not taking care of myself, I put myself in a box, in a prison of anxiety, of really being mean to myself, not taking care of my body. Okay, I don't believe could ever be a 10 because perfection for me is a trigger. Okay, so yeah, okay, so maybe a 10, maybe an 8. How would an 8 feel for you? Yeah, I hear what you're saying. So what I'm trying to say is, like, what is that better for you? What is that word? Would you be less angry? You know, would you have more peace? Would you be happier? What's that word for you when you say, if I took care of myself, I would be blank? And thank you guys so much for participating. I'm loving it. Love, love, love. Let's see, I want to see more of the comment. Okay. So I'm going to give you guys a moment. Remember, you can always, if you're watching this on the replay, feel free to put the answers. I always go back and look at my videos. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I would feel amazing, super confident, happy, full of energy, love, love, love. This is good. Just like I did before I gained 20, 30. Yes, yes, yes. So I'm loving the words. You would feel amazing. You would be confident, happy, right? Like, there's something that comes from taking care of yourself that, and for you, Lilia, you have felt it before, so you can touch it, you can see it, you know what it feels like. So sometimes a lot of us, I know Stella is saying, like, I just can't even imagine it, and I totally understand. Here's the thing, for some of us, it's attainable, right? We see it, we can feel it. And for some of us, we've never even been that close. Like, we've always been a 2 or 3 or 4. Like, we can't even cross that line of maybe 6, 7, 8. I get it. So here's what I've done, okay? Because I know a lot of you are struggling during this time. And as much as I would love to just take all of you as one-on-one clients, time is of an essence. I could not do that, right? So I started to think, and I really meditated, and I kind of spent some time like, what can I offer during this time that would be beneficial to you? So I have come up, and maybe you guys have seen this. But I've come up with a program, and it's called 21 Days to a Better Me Journey. And the reason why I say a journey is because we're all on this journey. So my goal is to help move that scale, right? I don't know if we're ever gonna get to a 10, but we can definitely dream about it, and we can definitely envision what more is for us, or what better is for us. So here's what I've done. I've created this program. It's 21 days of support from me, okay? We're going to, in this program, I'm going to just go through the list because I want to make sure that you know what this program consists of. So you're really going to learn how to improve and really work on managing those emotions that keep you prisoner, right? We're going to work on having those tools so that you can better deal with crisis and stress in your life. We're going to really work on healing some of those wounds from childhood. We're going to work on healing some of that past, right? Because a lot of the time, that's what's keeping us anchored, right, to not moving forward. Sometimes we can't even imagine it because we're cemented into our pain and our trauma. So we're going to work through that. We're going to do some healing work in there. We're also going to create a self-care plan, okay? Everybody that goes through this program is going to leave with 3 to 5 things in their toolbox so that when crisis hits, when a stressful day, whether it's small or big, they're going to pull out some of their kit, their toolbox, and they're going to be able to say, okay, this is what I do when I'm feeling this way, A, B, and C. There's going to be a very detailed plan for them, okay? You're also going to learn how to break through some of this self-sabotage. Now, for a lot of us that have been changing and trying to feel better, you know self-sabotage happens. I know I self-sabotage myself still to this day. So we are going to put some things in place so that you can really learn to break through those barriers of procrastination, of lack of motivation, of self-sabotage. So we're going to be talking about that in our group. Now, where will this program take place? It's all online, so it's all done from the comfort of your home. And everything will be in a Facebook group. So it's not like, oh, I work, I can't do this. Like, everything's going to be there. You're going to have access to that 24/7. So it's not time sensitive, like, oh, you can only access it in the morning or in the evening. It's going to be there for you 24 hours during the program. It's 21 days. It starts April 6th. So Monday. Okay. Today's Wednesday, I think, right? So 5 days from now. And we're going to have a private Facebook group. It's going to be a very close knit. So there's going to be that connection with other people and community so that you can feel free to be vulnerable and open up. I'm going to be going in the group daily. You're going to have daily growth work, which means that there's going to be a focus for that day. There's going to be a tool. There's going to be a suggestion. There's going to be something that you can do, whether that's a video, that's a journal prompt, some writing, some meditation, some affirmation, whatever that is at that day. You're going to know it's going to be posted in the morning, and you're going to know what your focus is for that day. So it's going to be 21 days, okay, of my support in a group setting to help you get to a better place so that you can better manage your emotions. You can overcome some of those obstacles that make it impossible for you to transform. And I'm excited about it. I'm really excited. This is going to be super cool.